What's up, everybody? It's been a couple weeks since Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex has come out on Godzilla Day, back on November 3rd. I wanted to kind of revisit this. I wanted to make another video going into a little more detail because there's not a lot out there aside from that 6-minute video itself. A lot of you had some very interesting comments and feedback for my first video on this, and there's a little more I want to dive into now that some of this has saturated and marinated with me for a couple weeks now. And still, while not officially confirmed that this is in fact a continuation of the Heisei series and this is Godzilla Junior, it is, again, like I said, very strongly implied. There's evidence to back it up, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the bookend to the story of Godzilla Junior. It's the closure that we needed, that we never had. And I really like when we get new Godzilla content, but even more so when it directly correlates to something that we already have established in the fandom. That, coupled with all the overwhelming evidence, in my eyes, just goes further to establish that point. But what I want to know today, what I want to discuss, is how powerful is this Godzilla? Is this version of Godzilla Junior? Now, we know from past experience, we know that Toho is quick to deny when there's been rumors in the past that a different Godzilla is actually an adult Godzilla Jr. It happened for Godzilla 1999, and it also happened for Godzilla Final Wars in 2004. This, while also a officially licensed project by Toho, they have not denied that this is in fact Godzilla Jr. Now, in a 6-minute video, you're not obviously getting a whole lot of context here, but if we move forward with indeed accepting that this is the Heisei series extended, then we know with context how powerful the last Godzilla was. Now, what we know from the Heisei timeline is that the first Godzilla showed up in 1954. He was a Godzillasaurus that was mutated by the hydrogen bomb. And that bomb evolved him into a monster that was originally killed by the oxygen destroyer. Another Godzilla was then created in the Heisei timeline that was mutated from nuclear radiation that it fed off from a submarine. Now, this Godzilla appeared bigger and more powerful than the one that showed up originally in the timeline, and also the one in 1954. The reason for that is because it was created with more advanced nuclear power from that submarine. It made him bigger and it made him stronger. This is confirmed by characters in the movie. So right there, we have a correlation between the amount of nuclear energy and the size and power contained within Godzilla. We also know that this particular Godzilla, Heisei Godzilla, becomes Burning Godzilla. Burning Godzilla, as backed up by characters in the movie as well as behind the scenes commentary, he gets stronger and stronger the closer he comes to that meltdown temperature, including blasting holes all through Destroyer's body and face. So what does this mean for Godzilla Jr.? Now, we've seen Godzilla Jr. grow up more of an eyes-on fashion than we have seen the previous Godzilla. We know that as an egg, he was kind of basking in radioactivity, just as a regular Godzillasaurus. Now, we know that just like Godzilla, this creature was also hit with the explosion on Birth Island, and while it helped evolve him into a bigger, more fearsome monster, it didn't give Godzilla the death sentence that it did for his father. Somehow, Godzilla Jr. was able to take that energy and turn into a creature that thrived. But this wouldn't be it for Godzilla Jr., because even though he was now a powerful Godzillasaurus-like species, there was still another transformation waiting for him. And it was only after Godzilla melted down that Godzilla Jr. became another version of Godzilla King of the Monsters. We don't know if he ever would have even become that on his own naturally. It seems like, to me, the implication is that it would take that massive hit of radiation to transform him into that stage. Now here's where the context comes in, because if we take all the information the Heisei series has given us, and we know that Godzilla's atomic power directly correlates with the amount of radiation that he is hit with, then we should already know that by the end of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, Godzilla Junior isn't just Godzilla Part 2. He should actually be Godzilla taken to the next level. After all, if the atomic testing created the first Godzilla and he was powerful, but modern nuclear weapons made the second Godzilla in the Heisei series even bigger and more powerful, and the explosion of Birth Island turned Godzilla into the super burning Godzilla, what do you think would happen to a Godzilla Jr. that absorbed all of his father's radiation? There's a power that Godzilla has that kind of gets overlooked oftentimes. We all know of the atomic breath and also the atomic pulse, but Godzilla also has always had the ability to absorb energy. It's happened numerous times in all the timelines, from the Showa era to the Millennium era, in the Heisei era, even the Legendary series. Godzilla absorbs energy. In the Heisei series alone, not only did he absorb the sub's energy, not only is he always absorbing radioactivity, but when Rodan died, he absorbed his power. He became a more powerful monster. When Space Godzilla's crystals broke and his power was spiraling out of control, Godzilla absorbed that and became even stronger. And we know Godzilla Jr. does the same. So at the end of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, Godzilla Jr. is absorbing enough radioactive power that was going to destroy the entire planet. One comment in the movie suggests that it was the biggest blast of energy since the Big Bang. And Godzilla Jr. took it and controlled it. The power that killed his father, Godzilla Jr. harvested and became what we see in Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex. And if we just watch the details of this short 6-minute film, we can see Godzilla absolutely thrashing these Heisei versions of Gigan, which are also far more powerful and efficient than the Gigan we knew from the Showa series. Not only is he destroying them hand to hand, ripping out, the necks of some of them and stomping through the face of another, his nuclear pulse is so powerful that it blasts a Gigan miles away from him and also blows off one of its arms. Godzilla Jr. has become so adept of a fighter that he's taken out multiple foes and standing his ground easily. And even against weapons that Gigan Rex himself throws at him, this Godzilla is easily able to overpower his opponent. Now, Godzilla Jr., unlike his father, grew up from a hatchling in pretty much hostile circumstances. He's witnessed these battles. He got confronted by Space Godzilla, and then he tackled Destroyer on his own. But what's really impressive is the Ultra Instinct ability that he seems to call upon at will when the odds are finally stacking against him. It took fighting like 9 Gigans at one time for them to finally kind of corner and pin him down. And this is when Godzilla unleashes what I think is a tell that this is A, also evidence that this is Godzilla Jr., and B, also evidence that this is now a stronger incarnation of Godzilla than we have seen before in the Heisei timeline. Maybe even ever. Do you really think it's a coincidence that he lights up in a manner that's very similar to the way Burning Godzilla looks when his power was out of control? But what once was enough to kill one Godzilla is actually a controlled but devastating force of raw power. Once Godzilla tapped into this, nothing else stood a chance. One glancing blow to a Gigan was enough to turn this entire city into scorched earth. I mean, shit, Gigan Rex himself combined his own power with that of like 3 other Gigans, and they still were no match for Godzilla. So with all that being said, I'm just making the argument that this Godzilla is not only a superior hand-to-hand combatant, but also is maybe the most powerful form of Godzilla we've come across yet. One of the commenters on my last video had a really interesting theory that when Junior was mutated because of the death of burning Godzilla, he also had in him the actual micro-oxygen from when he still fought Destroyer. And that could also perhaps explain why he has such an ability to harness this much power. And how about linking Miki Sagusa herself to all of this, as expressed in the previous video? The fact that it was her narrating and not when they could have just gotten some random voiceover just drills the point a little further home to me that this is Godzilla Junior, and he himself was born from the ashes of the incredibly powerful burning Godzilla himself. Thank you guys for watching. What do you think? Do you think there's enough here in context to place this Godzilla where I place him? Let me know.